Happy NBA season opener, ladies and gentlemen. I am recording this before the Knicks-Celtics game and the Timberwolves-Lakers game tonight to open the season. We are going to get these predictions in. You're going to hear this video today, which is Wednesday. We're going to give award predictions. I'm going to give my conference finals predictions, my finals prediction and pick, and then I'm going to give you 5 gut check takes that I have going into the NBA season. So let's get to the awards. I'm going to be quick with the awards so I can get to the other stuff on the back end. MVP, I'm going with gilgeous-alexander. I think this is a lot of people's preseason MVP pick, but the Thunder are going to be fucking fantastic this year. They are going to be nip and tuck with the Celtics for the best record in the league, and gilgeous-alexander is going to average 35-5 with elite defense, probably lead the league in steals again, or at least be top 3. I think Shai is going to be rewarded as the best player on the best team, but not in the traditional way, in the way where it's like, okay, yeah, this guy also has the elite numbers to back that up. Defensive player of the year, this is going to be everybody's defensive player of the year pick, and it makes a lot of sense. Victor Wembanyama. That dude is not only a force already protecting the rim, but he's a force blocking shots from the perimeter, and he's just going to alter so much shit. The Spurs might be close to the late teens or middle of the road defensively, but when Wembanyama's on the court, nobody's going to get shit against the Spurs. Rookie of the year, I was going to go with Zach Edey, but I decided to go with Reed Shepherd of the Houston Rockets. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. He'll have a lot more opportunity to put up numbers on a decent team, and not only put up like decent numbers but efficient numbers, because he can shoot the hell out of the ball. His gravity is going to create lanes for passes. I just like Reed Shepherd a lot, and I think he's going to contribute big for this Rockets team, and I think, he has a very good chance of winning Rookie of the Year. Wouldn't be surprised if Zach Edey won it, but I wanted to try something a little different. Sixth man of the year, going with Malik Monk of the Sacramento Kings. Malik Monk was very important to the Kings last year. Well, since he's been in Sacramento, really. And he had a chance to win sixth man of the year last year. But now that the Kings are looking to get back in that playoff mix, they have DeMar DeRozan. There's going to be a little bit more space for Malik Monk to operate. He's one of the Kings' best pick-and-roll players, has a great two-man game with Domantas Sabonis. I think he's going to be making a huge impact off the bench again, and I think he has a chance to snag the award this time. Then Coach of the Year, I'm going with Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. I think because of the injuries in the season from hell the Grizzlies had last year, I think the bounce back year is going to give Taylor Jenkins that bump a little bit. He has a lot of talent, and I truly do think this Grizzlies team is in the mix for seeds 2 through 5 in the Western Conference. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder kind of in a tier by themselves. I did that in my West tier list video, but I think a fully healthy Grizzlies team, now I say fully healthy in air quotes because Jaren Jackson Jr. is already going to miss the season opener, but they're mostly healthy. They have their core back, and I think they're going to be winning 50-plus games. They are really good, and some of the other Coach of the Year candidates have already won recently, or their team is so good that it's actually a detriment to the coach and they won't get the credit that they probably deserve. Like, I'm not seeing Joe Mazzulla or Mark Daigneault winning Coach of the Year anytime soon, or Tom Thibodeau. You can maybe put Eric Spoelstra in there, but I don't think the Heat are going to be good this year. I think they're going to be in that 8 to 9 seed range. I'm going with Taylor Jenkins. Most improved player, I'm going with Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. I could not be possibly higher on Jalen Johnson. Now that DeJounte Murray's gone, as I have illustrated in my Hawks preview or my Hawks 5 questions video, I think Jalen Johnson's going to get a lot of opportunity. He already averaged 16, 9, and 4 basically last year on 50% shooting, but now he's going to get more chances. He's going to be the second guy off of Trae Young, and I think that partnership is just more natural because it's a big and a guard playing together, and Jalen Johnson's going to make decisions in the short roll. His role's going to increase, and I think he's going to be most improved. And then the most useless of the player awards, the Clutch Player of the Year award. We're in the 3rd year of this award now, and now I can definitively say that no one really cares about this award, but it's an award nonetheless. It goes on the resume, so we have to pick it. So I'm going to go with Jalen Brunson. The Knicks are going to be in a lot of close games. They're going to win a lot of games, and Jalen Brunson is going to be getting to his spots, built like a fire hydrant. Nobody can stop him from getting to his spots, and he's going to either mid-range your ass to death, floater your ass to death, post you up to death, footwork you to death in the clutch when the Knicks need a bucket. So I'm going with Jalen Brunson. Now we're going to move to the conference finals and finals predictions. Remember, these are preseason, and I'm pretty sure one of them is going to be really unpopular, but we move regardless. And then I'm going to get to my gut check NBA takes going into the season. Western Conference Finals. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder beating the Denver Nuggets. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm going to talk about them in one of my gut check NBA takes going into the season, but I think the Thunder are just going to be in a class by themselves when it comes to the Western Conference standings. I think they have the talent, the versatility. They're going to get there. The Nuggets, that Game 7 loss at home last year where they blew a 20-plus point lead, that was a collapse, but also an anomaly in itself. Jokic is the best player in the world. I don't think Jamal Murray is as cooked as everybody says he is. Aaron Gordon, locked in. The team's going to get expensive in a few years, but they did shore up some bench pieces. I think they're going to be a little bit worse than previous Nuggets teams, but I don't think it's going to matter because Nikola Jokic is that cold, but I think the Thunder ultimately win. Then we got the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, I have the Celtics winning the Eastern Conference. They're coming out of the East. I'm just going to say the finals right now. I have a Celtics Thunder Finals. But the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference Finals. I didn't do that before with my two previous preseason predictions. But finally, what has happened, and I know that Paul George and Joel Embiid are probably going to be load managed throughout the season, but the Sixers have finally done what I have been wanting them to do on this channel for like 6 fucking years now. The basketball fit is the most sense that it has ever made in the Joel Embiid era. A point guard who can shoot, a wing who isn't a complete $35 million sinkhole in Paul George, who is an upgrade over Tobias Harris. The Sixers have the most athletic wings that they have ever had in Joel Embiid's career. I think they're more versatile than ever. Nick Nurse entering his second year. There is finally stability there, not a point guard requesting a trade. Like I mentioned over the summer, I love the offseason that they had, and it seems like they are committed to making sure they get to the playoffs healthy and making sure Joel Embiid is as healthy as he could possibly be. And if the Sixers get there healthy with a relatively high seed, a top 4 seed, home court in the first round, I think there is a great chance they make the Eastern Conference Finals. I had them third on my Eastern Conference tier list. The basketball fit just makes so much sense. As far as a second and third best player, these are the best players Joel Embiid has ever played with, this side of Jimmy Butler. And I think the Sixers finally knocked down the door this year. Unpopular opinion, because I'm sure people will want to get their jokes off, slander Embiid, all this stuff. And, that's fair if you don't believe in the Sixers' playoff chances. But I think basketball-wise, I think this fit makes sense. It's not your usual big three where, shit doesn't fit one way or a few ways. I think the fit between this big three is hand in glove. This is the spine of the roster, the point guard, the center, and the wing. Unfortunately, they will get ass blasted by the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals because they are clearly the best team of the East. And then in the finals, like I mentioned, Thunder Celtics, and I'm going with Celtics in 7. And now we move on to my 5 gut check NBA takes heading into the season. First one, the Thunder are winning 60-plus games. Now, I'm sure a lot of people who are high on the Thunder and probably picked the Thunder to come out of the West have this take, but I actually think the Thunder in this tough Western Conference have a pretty good chance, actually, of winning 60-plus games. Love the offseason that they had, even if they had gotten Alex Caruso, and that was it. That would have been an A-plus offseason, but they end up getting Isaiah Hartenstein. They could play different ways now. I expect a leap from Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like I mentioned earlier, is going to get better and be the MVP favorite. The Thunder are winning 60 games. They have a great offense, great defense. Now their offense has been diversified by adding Hartenstein and being able to run certain actions that they couldn't last year, and I feel pretty good about this one. The Celtics and the Thunder are winning 60 games this year. Number 2, I am convinced that the New Orleans Pelicans will stink. Now, this is conditioned on the fact that I think they have multiple trades to make, but I do not like the fit on this roster. Don't like the fact that they are just starting off small off the bat, basically not having a starting center. But not only that, the pieces don't fit. CJ McCollum is there clogging things up. Trey Murphy should be starting. Trey Murphy just agreed to a nice contract extension. I think Trey Murphy's going to be a star player, an all-star type of player. I am very high on Trey Murphy, and he can't reach that potential if CJ McCollum is in the way. You got DeJounte Murray there already. Then you got Brandon Ingram. This team is not going to be a prolific three-point shooting team. I'm sure their pace is going to be up, but I think their defense is going to be bad because they really just traded away a chunk of their identity last year, which is having a bunch of wings. I am just not high on this Pelicans team at all, as much as I was last year. And the crazy thing is, Zion isn't even the problem this year. I think Zion's going to be fantastic. He looks in shape. It's the rest of the roster and the way it's constructed that I am just very low on. Number 3, I am convinced that the Phoenix Suns will break the offensive rating record. Now, that record has been broken the last 2 seasons now, with the Kings breaking it in the 2022-23 season and the Celtics breaking it last year. But I think with the arrival of Mike Budenholzer, his offensive philosophy of getting a lot of threes up, not really, emphasizing the mid-range, even though Durant and Booker are going to take their mid-range shots because they're monsters at it, and I'm sure Budenholzer recognizes that. But they need the right amount of threes, and in the preseason, it looks like they have struck that balance a little bit. I want to see them do it throughout the regular season. Also, adding Tyus Jones and Monty Morris to your team, 2 of the best assist-to-turnover ratio guys in the NBA, on a team that turned the ball over a lot last year, I think that's going to do wonders for this Phoenix Suns offense. That's addressing the margins a lot, and because of those 2 main issues right there, they're going to be right up there at the top because they have Booker, Durant, Bradley Beal. Grayson Allen's going to be coming off the bench as a luxury. Royce O'Neal's going to be making threes. There's a lot to like about how the Suns revamped their roster in the offseason, considering before the offseason started, it looked like a pretty bad situation just big picture-wise. When Mike Budenholzer first got to Milwaukee, one of my early YouTube videos was predicting that the Milwaukee Bucks were not only going to lead the NBA in pace, but they were also going to take a lot of threes and have one of the best offensive ratings in the NBA, and that's what happened, and I think the same will happen here. Number 4, I have a feeling that the top 5 MVP candidates by season's end will all be players out of the Western Conference. You got Jokic, Luka, SGA. Anthony Edwards, I think, is going to be right up there because he is now filling the void that the league has been missing for a while. That classic MJ, Dwayne Wade, Kobe, athletic two-way guard, throwback player. A lot of older media, I'm sure, are going to salivate at the chance of putting Anthony Edwards in the MVP discussion if the Timberwolves win a lot of games, and deservedly so, by the way. Just talking about how older voters probably tend to think, or predicting at least. And then the 5th spot, it's available for anybody. Steph Curry could have another great season and the Warriors win a lot more games than people expect. If the Grizzlies are truly fighting for any seed ranked 2 through 5, Ja Morant could be up there. Kevin Durant could be up there. Devin Booker could be up there if the Suns have a higher seed than expected. There's just a lot more chances for a Western Conference player to finish on this MVP ballot list than in the East, where Giannis isn't going to get the respect he should get and should deserve based on how the media has talked about him in MVP discussions last year and seasons prior. Jason Tatum could be the one that crashes this party, And if we really bullied Jason Tatum into being a stone cold MVP candidate, that would be very, very funny. But he didn't win MVP last year despite the Celtics winning 64 games. He would really have to, 1, raise his efficiency, and 2, up his scoring. But the way the Celtics play is an unselfish brand of basketball. I don't think Tatum's going to get the credit he probably should deserve. Joel Embiid's not going to play enough games. Don't see Jimmy Butler playing enough games. There's just very few options coming out of the East. Jalen Brunson, too. That would depend on how many games the Knicks win. But if you're just going to the West, it's the tougher conference. That's going to be a built-in reason for a lot of these players that are going to be on the MVP list. And I just see the top 5 being all players from the Western Conference. Then my last gut check NBA take. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller are going to stamp themselves as one of the rising backcourts in the NBA. Of course, this is contingent on LaMelo Ball being healthy, but I just can't give up on a 6'8 guard that can shoot the 3 and pass like LaMelo does, on top of Brandon Miller being one of the rising two-way wings in the NBA and has all-star potential, quite frankly. I really like the Hornets' future backcourt. I like the core of LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Mark Williams, even though Mark Williams was really injured last year and only played 19 games. I don't know, for some reason I just like the Hornets and their roster construction, and I think they're positioned to at least be back to what they were before last year, which is fighting for a play-in. And I think LaMelo and Brandon Miller are going to stamp themselves as a rising young backcourt.